Hey everybody, it's Bruno and welcome to AndB. Click on the subscribe button below here and you'll never miss an episode. And also you can follow us on LinkedIn and on Facebook on MegaPixx Media. Enjoy the episode.
That's right. What's up, you sucker? That's right. What's up, you sucker?
Hey everybody, it's Bruno and I'm with my good friend Srecko Zizakovic. Z, welcome to AndB, where it can't all be serious. I don't think we're gonna have too many problems doing that. So
Nope.
Z, how you doing?
Pretty good, Bruno. Just enjoying a break in the weather here and some better temperatures in Calgary. So feeling good.
You know what? We're gonna get right after we have a thumbnail and everybody wants to hear. This is why they're tuning in. Let's talk about sales. Something true blue to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
I guess top two things that you want to talk about that makes salespeople great. Number one.
Number one, listening. I would have to say that you need to listen to customers. You need to listen intently. And the old saying, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, should apply. Listen to your customers intently and ask questions that get you deeper and deeper into a core cause or a core root of why you're sitting in front of them and what you can do to help them. My philosophy has always been, what can I do to alleviate you from not sleeping at 4 a.m, right? How do I let you get a good night's sleep? Because I'm going to help you out with a solution that I'm going to come to you with whatever product or company that it is that I represent.
So one of the things is that the reason why you're even here is that you've had a couple of really illustrious careers in different trades, and one of them that you basically in your adult life is you become a sales expert and a sales management expert in different industries. We're going to talk about your past. Yeah, that's where we're going to have a little bit of fun too.
Yeah,
but
that's all right.
I'm sure you had a lot of fun in sales. But how did you stumble into sales?
Well, when I was done playing football after my CFL career was done, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, no one ever asks you, what's your second favorite job in the world? And really, I had a hard time kind of coming to a realization with it. I didn't know that I necessarily want to get into what my degree was for in terms of being a lucrative opportunity for me moving forward. But I realized that through athletics, I did a lot of speaking engagements. I did a lot of being in front of a camera. I did a lot of meeting some pretty interesting and what other people would classify as higher level people in in the city and in the country. And I just realized, I'm good with people, and how can I turn that into an opportunity to make some money and possibly a career? And sales was the way to go.
Okay, time out. It can't all be serious, but this is serious. You said you had a lot of time in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't your own camera. It was like other people's camera.
Others.
So, right? Because I know you kind of talk in the mirror, you practice. Yeah. But this is no joke. You were in a motion picture.
Yes, I was. I was in a movie.
And it wasn't X-rated.
No, and it wasn't.
Okay.
No Sylvester Stallone moments here. No, this was a movie called Rat Race. It was filmed in Calgary the year after I retired. So ironically enough, here I was stumbling, bumbling, and I knew a good friend of mine who was in the modeling industry. And not that I would ever classify myself as a model, but they were shooting a movie. They went through her and that talent agency to look for football type-ish players, people.
Did you know anybody?
Yeah, I might have known one or two. Wise guy. And so I said, well, yeah, I'm not doing anything, and they're filming at McMahon, and that's like my second home, really. And sure, what do you need me to do, right? And actually, I went in there and I gave Robert Zemeckis a few pointers on, because it was really, really a sterile football environment for what they were trying to film. And I just said, like they didn't tell me that it was going to be a comedy and a lighthearted kind of a movie. I didn't know anything about it except that we were supposed to be going into overtime, 2 teams, really tense, and the referee screws up the coin toss. And I thought, you know what, guys, like, this is not how I would react if I played a whole game and a referee screwed up a coin toss, right? Oh, really? Well, what would you be like? And I remember in the audition, man, I just went off script and I said, well, I'm not going to use these notes because this is like Disney version, right? And I'm like, I apologize for swearing. And then I just laid into this poor lady and she just, eyes got as big as saucers.
Yeah.
And I was right. I mean, it was pretty intense. I'm sure guys waiting to audition in the hall were like, what the hell? This isn't on the script, you know? But the reality was I got their attention and then I was able to kind of tell them, you know, like football players, we don't dress like that. We don't tape our hands and wrists like that. And we don't look like this after a full, like make us look somewhat real, right? And oh, that's really, really good. And I had a great opportunity to meet Cuba Gooding Jr. And what a great guy. Like I would say he's one of the genuine, what you see on screen is what you get in real life. He just is a good guy.
Well, you might not know this, and I sorry to I'm being serious about not interrupting, but the thing is that talking about Cuba is, oh my gosh, has to be 8 years ago. We were in Phoenix in Scottsdale because my kids were playing baseball down there, and at this what is it called, the Westin Kierland, which is a nice hotel. That's where we were staying. In the bar downstairs, Cuba's there shooting something, and he had a few drinks. And so my son Dominic, as you know, loves movies and all that kind of stuff. And he was playing baseball. He goes, Dad, you're not going to believe this, but the Cuba is down there. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he did this movie because they were still young kids called Snow Dogs.
Yes, that's right.
Right? And he goes, the Snow Dog guy. I'm like, are you serious? So I thought maybe he just wanted to do something. We go down and he had a few drinks and not my son, but Cuba did. And I'm like, hey man, what's going on? And he's like talking to my kid and this, and I go, you know a friend of mine. And he goes, who are you talking about, man? He goes, Rat Race. Oh, man. Yeah, that was a movie of the football guy and this, that, and there. I go, my friend Srecko was doing it. And he's like, the Canadian football guy. Yeah, man. He got onto it.
No.
So that was absolutely true story.
That is a surprise. Well, thank you for sharing that.
So my son Dominic is responsible for that. But you're, I guess, you know, that was a short, like that was a little stint, a little something to do, but they did film it during what game?
Labor Day.
So Liberty Classic.
Yeah, 1996, and they had asked, I think, in the paper, whoever was coming in early to the game to watch pregame warm-ups and stuff like that, they wanted to pack that, you know, sections, you know, W, X, and Y or whatever, at one corner and make it look like it was a full stadium because they were going to shoot in that direction. And we had talked about back at the Army barracks,
right?
Where the film crew had gathered and everything. Sorry, and you know how we were going to do it, and what it was going to look like. So once we got up there, we just did a bunch of different takes, and of course he had to do some outtakes and some funny stuff. And he looked at me and he goes, "Okay, in this one, I'm going to rip my shirt off and I'm going to lose my mind. Okay, instead of you guys, let me lose my mind. I'm going to rip my shirt off and then I'm going to jump in your arms and we're going to run away. Okay," and you're like going, "What?" And then he does it, and you're like, okay. And everybody's laughing, right? And it's funny, right? But he's just, you know, he came across as really a genuine, what you see is what you get kind of a guy, which is definitely something that's beyond what I would imagine with Hollywood, right? When you think of really famous people, right?
So what's interesting is that we didn't script any of this stuff.
Nope.
Well, we talk about the sales stuff because I think we got to get to the thumbnail, and I think people want to know about, you know, how to become great salespeople and all that kind of stuff. And I do respect that because that's kind of what we're meeting. But we don't script it. And you brought up the Army barracks, and that's where I first met you.
That's right.
Yeah. And you were coaching with the CIS with the Dinos, and that was one of the first days I joined. And sure enough, here's Srecko Zizakovic, and I'm like, hey man, how's it going? And that's where we met.
Yeah. You saw the first little bit about my philosophy on football and discipline, and without getting into details, I mean, it was I'll never forget that night because of the way things kind of unfolded, and it was a place to lay the law down. And I felt like Daryl Sutter.
Yeah, why don't you talk about your philosophy, because I think that's where this interview is definitely not about me, and I don't ever try to make it about me. But the thing is that I was not an alumni here. I'm
Mhm.
not an alumni, and I was fortunate enough to coach with some really good coaches. And I remember
Mhm.
that was my first year here, and I remember bumping into you and a couple other coaches I'd love to mention. We will. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know Srecko. He's a foot taller than me, and I like that. I think we're going to get along.
Mhm.
And that really sparked it's over almost 20 years relationship.
Yep.
Talk to me about, or talk to everybody about how you view coaching, because I think that goes hand in hand on how you view sales and sales management.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it all stems back from athletics and sports, right? And all the successes that I've had, whether it's on a football field or a basketball court or a rugby pitch or on the ice playing hockey, like it's always been when you've practiced and you've understood what your goal is and you've gotten good and consistent and you're disciplined. I mean, these are all part and parcel things that I can look back in every one of my jobs that I've had post sports and said, hey, this played a role here, this played a role here, and this played a role here, and they're integral components. It's funny in the sales world, we talk about sales teams, right? We don't talk about this is my sales group. We always talk about sales teams. Why? Because I think at the highest levels of performance and functionality, that's what you want to be. You want to be a team, right? And every team member has a role, and they need to do their role, right? Don't do somebody else's job. Just do yours very, very well. There's somebody else who's going to complement you, and there's a guy to your right and there's a guy to your left, right? Just do yours, and together, collectively, we get the job done as a team, right?
And it was interesting because that first year, is it okay if we talk a little college football in Canada with you?
Yeah, sure.
Because this is a philosophy thing, but it's also a little bit of fun thing, is that it's interesting on how you mold within a team. Because that year, I'm not going to give out the year because I don't think that's fair, because I think we had an extremely talented team and completely underachieved, unfortunately. And I think it was just a lack of time to blend, among other things. But I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but I going up to our head coach, I don't know how many times, and I said, hey, you know what? It's not, I'm trying to get somebody else's job, but I would love to coordinate the special teams with Srecko, and it didn't matter if you were the head guy or was. And I don't know if you remember that, but we were always on, let's do special teams. And what's interesting, one year, people forget about the Dinos in 2000, I can say it was 2000, we lost by a kick coming out of the end zone, not the end zone, sorry. They short kicked us twice, the Regina guys, and the lights went out and a whole bunch of stuff. And I remember thinking after we lost that game, because we would have gone to the national championship, I think. We had one more game, but we wouldn't have lost that one for sure. And it was a bit of a fluke. And I remember thinking all the way home, I was saying, man, what would have been the difference if we would have, because our philosophy was much different. Coaching special teams, we were much more, I guess, aggressive or assertive. And so I don't know if you remember that game.
Yeah, there was lots, and really more so than games for me was the personalities, right? The players and the coaches that you get to interact with, and you become friends that ultimately you become lifelong friends, right? Because you go to battle with these guys, right? I mean, there's no substitute for it, right? And it's funny, battle, fighting, team, cohesiveness, like this. All these words are important because they transpose into business, right? The successful ones, same exact way, right? And one of the best compliments I ever got in my athletic career was from my former coach Tom Higgins, who I was not able to make a Dinos dinner one year, and I think he was playing, and he was asked a question about who were some of the guys that he had a lot of respect for, and the Canadian D linemen that I got a chance to play with here in Calgary were exceptional, right? And it's not to downplay anybody else out there by any stretch, but I had heard that Tom used the phrase, I'm going to paraphrase here, but he said something to the effect of, Srecko, Harold, Kent Warnock, Stu Laird, I'd have those guys in my foxhole any day of the week, right? And you sit there and you go, wow, a guy that I have the highest regard for in the sport just said that about me. wow, it doesn't, you don't get a bigger pat on the back, at
Right.
least in my mind. And the, the four guys that he mentioned were all Canadians. And I think it's one of the reasons why we were able to be big contributors to those teams in the early 90s when we started to turn things around here in Calgary. And it was a change of philosophy, it was a change of attitude, and we as a group said, this is how we can best help the team take that next step, right?
Right.
And Tom was a big part of that. So yeah, big compliment for myself.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Let's get to the second reason. We're back to sales.
No.
Selling it up, right?
No worries.
Second top thing.
Second top thing I would say is sell a solution. Don't sell a product. If you're only going to sell a product, in my mind and in many customers' minds, it ends up being a very transactional sale. It comes down to typically availability, pricing, right? Do you have the right size, the right color, the right fit, right model? Okay, done. If the price is right, it's good, right? And I don't care about anything else. I think if you sell a solution, and once again, going back to my comment about how can I alleviate my customer from waking up in a cold sweat at 4 a.m. because he's worried about stuff, I want him to go to sleep. So if I can sell him a solution that says basically, hey, you know what, Srecko and his team, they've got this thing covered. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to wake up in a nightmare in a cold sweat to worry about, is this piece of equipment going to freeze in the wintertime, or is this going to fail on me, or is this order going to show up on time or not, right? And so I often talk about, present the solution and sell the solution, because then there's also a bit more of a personal engagement with the decision that a customer makes. If it's just transactional, well, he's going to come up to you every time and just go, so what's your price for this? Okay, here's my other prices. Yeah, sorry, I got to go with these guys, right? And there's no tie-in. There's no emotional tie to Bruno in this case, right? And a customer can just go on and, sorry, Bruno, but I got to go here because I'm going to save half a penny a liter, right? And it's a discouraging for you as a sales guy, right? But if I can create that solution, that personal tie-in to why you're buying from me, and I might be half a penny a liter more expensive, but if you know that my team is never going to let the ball down, that we're always going to be there on time, that we are going to let you know when we see problems happening in your facilities or with some of your programs early, then guess what? Now I'm an added value to the customer. I'm just not a transactional sale. So sell the solution, not just a product.
So number one was
Listen.
Number two,
Sell the solution, not a product.
so I'm here with Z, and this is we're going to continue this conversation with other topics, but I want to point out that for those of you watching, this is not just for entertainment kind of thing. There's a lot of justs. But if you click below, I got Z's information down here. So if any of your teams are underperforming, don't let Z, us shooting the breeze here, mislead you. Like, you're a very learned sales manager. You kick some ass. You learned it the hard way. Mm-hmm. And so that's how they contact you. If they contact you, I mean, you can work with these teams. You can consult
absolutely.
to them. You can, work with them somehow. What can they expect from you?
Well, at the end of the day, I think I've worked in a lot of different areas of the marketplace. Everything from clothing and retail on a corporate line to interior construction to oil and gas tools to chemicals, and not sure what my next venture is going to look like, but if it's something completely different, then that's okay.
Sports
okay.
And entertainment.
Well,
too.
yeah, and athletics, and at the end of the day, you've got to be like a chameleon, right? And you've got to be like a sponge. So soak it up quickly, able to adapt to your environment very quickly, ask a lot of questions, and then from there start to use some of the strategies and the different things that you've seen. I've had a bit of a diversified background with different types of managers as well, that you can now sit there and go, well, no different than coaches. Hey, I like the way that guy coaches. I'm going to do that when I coach, right? Versus, that guy's I will never do that to anybody I coach, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So even the bad ones you learn stuff from, right? And so it's all about put it in my toolbox, refine it, and then make it my own.
Right. That's perfect. Thanks, C.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Well, you know what? That's pretty much all the time we have for this episode today. Thank you for tuning in with us. And you know what? Make sure you subscribe to our MegaPixx media channel so you will never miss an episode. And also you can follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram. We have content almost every day. So thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you guys soon.